Well, how good does it feel to finally be back for the RealSimRacing IROC series powered by IRAPS? What an incredible series this has been from start to finish so far all year long. And well, we're getting set to kick off the second half here at the Talladega Super Speedway for round 4 of 6. I'm Noah Rempo with, of course, well, as always, I've got here Jonathan Purpose. I'm in the commentary box with Hugo Louise behind the cameras for today's presentation. It is going to be one heck of a race here tonight, Jonathan. And I tell you what, we are in for a thrilling race. We saw how chaotic the Daytona race was. How about a little more?
Oh, let's just add to the chaos right now. Unfortunately, not as big as a field as we got at Daytona, but that doesn't mean the chaos isn't as big. There's still going to be lots of passing, lots of drafting, and how far will some of these drivers go to try and get this victory?
I'm willing to bet pretty darn far. Take a look at the schedule here. We got ourselves 3 amazing tracks coming up for us here today. Talladega Super Speedway, of course, kicks off the second half of the season. June 26th sees us head on over to the 2-mile Auto Club Speedway. That in itself is an incredible facility for racing. Much like Michigan, of course, turns are flatter and a heck of a lot more bumpier. So we'll be seeing a lot of cars get it out of shape at the 2-mile over in California before kicking things off at Chicagoland Speedway for the season finale on August 16th, a 75-lap event to cap off the season. Take a look here at the point standings. Nick Silver still leads with 95 points. Joseph Tice is in second, 19 behind. 2 behind him, Dominic Howe. Monoxy Major is in 4th place with RaceSpotTV's very own Dylan Coyle rounding out the top 5 here, Jonathan. So still pretty darn tight for spots just outside of that top spot on the championship standings.
And with a smaller field, if these championship contenders, as long as they show up in the race, and even if they have a mistake or two, it will be okay. They'll still win the championship fight here today. So hopefully some of these big contenders like Nick Silver and Dominic Howe make it to the end all right.
Qualified is underway here, and it is, of course, open qualifying, and there's no more important track to have draft than, of course, here at the Talladega Super Speedway. It's one of those tracks where if you do not have the draft, you're going to find yourself going sometimes up to 3-4 seconds slower than if you were running in the draft here. Like we see this 5-6 car train right now. As you can see, Nick Silver is looking to the outside line, might be trying to fade to the back. Also in this train, you got Dominic Howe, Monoxy Major, Steve Soa, Matthew Mara with Nicholas Marr trying to close in just behind the number 32 car. Now, this is one of those trains where you actually want to kind of lag back just a little bit. And the reason why you want to do that is so you can get the max amount of momentum possible all the way down these straightaways, and that, of course, will mean that you will find yourself right at the top of the time boards compared to other guys like Monoxy Major who are sitting behind other drivers and have to back off and sacrifice time to avoid running other people over.
Yeah, because one of the things we've kind of noticed about this car as the major overhaul to the super late model has been added is it's really, really hard to push even with these, different style of setups. It's going to be extremely hard, I think, for anyone at the front of the line or at the rear of the line to push, as we see someone pushing up against the wall. That's definitely not how you do it.
Certainly is not. I believe that might have been Matthew Mara who got into that outside wall, and that's, of course, not what you want to do. He was trying to run right behind your points leader, Nick Silver. Here's another couple cars that are currently side-by-side out there on the racetrack. Again, not how you want to get them moved on. That's Evan Pasocco running at the moment with Trevin Valderrama just underneath him in the O2 car. So you got yourself these 2 drivers who it looks like they're trying to battle for dominance here to see which one of them wants to be the leader. Of course, you definitely want to be behind when you're on a draft. One thing you don't want to do is give another person a tow.
No, and I know these 2 have been working together a lot in this series, so I'm assuming there's just some disagreement of who is going where, and Evan is into the wall and around to the back straightaway.
Big slide for Evan Pasocco all the way down the back, and down. Gets clobbered by Kyle Trudell in the number 7 car. I'm pretty sure Trudell might have aimed for him there. I mean, hey, it's still qualifying. You got 5 minutes to go out there and get a lap done, so why the heck not? That
was just an impact, a heavy, heavy impact. I honestly don't know if Trudell was willing to do that because he was a ways away, and the smoke, ever since the update, is a lot harder to see through.
And there is Dylan Coyle at the moment running right in front of Ross Cato. They're currently sitting 2nd and 3rd on the time boards respectively. So Cato trying to find a way past Dylan Coyle and might be content to run just behind, get, of course, the extra speed. These guys are hitting a solid 51.8s, 51, they're kind of mid 51.8s at the moment. They're only 4 thousandths of a second apart of each other as well. And there you can see Sissoko now leaving pit road, it would appear, to try to go out on another run.
Kyle Trudell in front of him, I believe. I did see the 7 car. There it is. Unfortunately, the only car that's not having the correct paint scheme on it will unfortunately be Kyle Trudell, as he has a, I think, Gatorade-inspired blue and silver paint scheme, as opposed to everyone else's just solitary color paint scheme.
So Kato and Coyle still running together up there. I tell you what, why don't we actually come on over? We'll bring on up our in-race reporter here, Dylan Coyle here, running out there for qualifying at the moment. Dylan Coyle, a little rep up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Hello, hello. I'm excited to be on the broadcast with you guys. I'll be in both the driver Discord and this. So if I ever do, oh my goodness, as cars are flying in front of me. Trevin Valderrama right there. He was telling me to, or I was told to slander him on here. But looking forward to this race. Currently 4th in qualifying. These cars are so much more lively than the Cup cars we raced here just a few weeks back. It's going to be a fun time.
So we obviously know how the strategy works with some of the Cup cars here when it comes to this track and the race itself. You typically see people running single file for the good portion of the time, typically along the bottom side, and the outside line is obviously where all the momentum is going to be around the outside. Of course, these cars are not as fast, about 20, 30 miles an hour slower in top line speed. Do you reckon that will change up the strategy as to how we can see this race playing out, or do you think it'll be more or less the same of how we would see an average Cup race take place here?
I don't think any grooves are necessarily going to matter because these cars are bouncing everywhere. They're very fragile, and they get a lot of extra speed when they are in the draft. So I don't necessarily think the inside or the outside will be the stronger. I just think it's going to be where everyone is able to get around pretty quickly, if that makes sense. You know, it's going to be some good fun. We were practicing a good bit in groups, and I'm almost sliding right there at the bottom. We're going to see a lot of people struggling to keep it in a smooth and straight line, even on the front and backstretch.
Well, then how about bump drafting? Because obviously bump drafting is the way to go when you're on the straightaways here in the Cup cars. With how curved the front of these cars are, and obviously the nature of the car in general, is bump drafting out of the question?
Absolutely out of the question. This, I mean, if you just as much as have a sniff at the back of the car. Did you see that?
I did.
I had a fun. You know, Ross is talking over the radio. It's all good, Ross. But this is going to be a very lively race. The cars are lively. It's going to be dangerous at times. Thankfully, we all have one fast repair. If we didn't have the fast repair, I would be a lot more concerned about how this race is going to go. But we're going to have a lot of fun here. I think it's going to be a good night.
Well, best of luck then, Dylan, as it looks like qualifying is about to kind of switch over here in just under a minute's time. So good luck tonight. We'll probably be talking to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
That is, of course, our in-race reporter there, Dylan Coyle, doing a great job, as always, at the 79 car. We'll hopefully be talking to him again later on tonight if things tend to settle on out. But, well, you heard him there, Jonathan. Bump drafting, very much out of the question tonight. And that's not really a surprise based on just how the nature of the car is. Like you said, it's incredibly fragile, incredibly loose. You saw him get a bit sideways off the corner as Kato took some of the air off of his back bumper. So we might not be seeing a whole lot of contact today. And if you do, well, that could cause the ever-feared big one, which at Talladega, no matter what car you run, it's usually a matter of when it's going to happen as qualifying comes to a close.
And even just looking at the size of the field, there's only 14 drivers in here, but there's going to be a big one, and whether it's at the start or at the end, it's inevitable. If people can't push and get away from each other, well, that group of 14 is going to be staying together all race long.
Well, I tell you what, while we're waiting here for things to kind of skip on over, as we are not going to be going through with the heat race, looks like qualifying will be settled, and we're going to get things secured here for our overall grid. There will be no heat race again because we are under the amount of cars that would be required for that heat race. So, well, if we are about ready here, we could, I guess, take a look down here at the starting grid for your feature event. There it is, Nick Silver with keeping it real up on the pole. Matthew Mara almost a quarter of a second behind him on the second position around in the front row. Dylan Coyle locks out the final podium position for now. Ross Cato is just behind him in 4th. Munatsu Majors in 5th with Evan Basoko in 6th. Kyle Trudell sits in 7th with Nicholas Mara in 8th. Dominic Howe in 9th. Steve Soa 10th. Tom Moreno in 11th with Trevor Valderrama in 12th. Brian Chambliss and Stove Price Jr. rounding out the 14-car field in the race today. So warm-up is underway. Whether they decide to cancel the rest of the 5 minutes we have here before the race starts or decide to go right at it, we'll have to wait and see. Dylan Coyle appears to be having an interesting time over there. That's quite the steering angle for Talladega Super Speedway. What did you say, Jonathan?
Either he's doing donuts in the front straightaway, he's in reverse, or he's recalibrating the steering wheel. Well, he's not none of those things. He's in the grass.
Well, from the looks of things, I would say he spun it coming out of pit road. That, or he was just, okay, I found it. He's way down on the apron in turn 3 for whatever reason. So, Dylan's just out there having a little bit of fun right now. It's warm-up. Why the heck not? Well, while we're out of here, as he spins it back up into the racetrack now, let's take a look back here as we now go on board with Matthew Morrow. I'll take a, we'll give our, our little thanks here to the guys that keep the lights on here for the RealSimRacing IROC series, powered by IRAPS. Of course, IRAPS, they do produce some very high-quality custom and visual wraps for iRacing vehicles of all kinds. They definitely want you to look good going fast, and you had just seen your IRAPS starting grid right there as well. You also have, of course, the Makoni Setup Shop, which is your home for iRacing setups and the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports, fielding the number 46 and the 90 in the Coca-Cola iRacing series of Jimmy Mullins and Zach Novak. With everything from the legends of the Cup cars, they got you covered. Dirt setups by World of Outlaws pro driver Evan Say are also available, so head on over to www.makonisetupshop.com today. You can't beat the best, so don't settle for the rest. And then last but not least, SimSeats. And of course, since 2009, SimSeats have been designing and fabricating high-quality products made in the USA. They've been manufacturing driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all races from amateur to the pro ranks. Everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. So join SimSeats today for the thrill of racing anytime, any day, any car, any track. Visit simseats.com to learn more. Well, Jonathan, warm-up is complete, and we are now set to go racing here for 50 laps as the field starts to grid on up there on the front straightaway.
Yeah, 50 laps, that means everyone's going to have to be very, very patient, I think, at the start. And with how different and spread out this field is compared to like who usually works together in team-wise, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out really in these first 5 laps. Who finds friends, who doesn't, who wants to lead, who wants to ride around at the back and be scared.
So 14 cars. Definitely a very small field size for Talladega Super Speedway, and one of the smallest we've had all season, but still definitely big enough that we can have some real chaos kind of being thrown in the way of the championship. Your points leader, Nick Silver, is on the pole, but it's always going to be a question, though, of is he going to stay there. Of course, we are expecting pit stops today, and with the draft being the way it is here, the way if Nick Silver runs out in front, he's going to be stopping sooner than everybody else, which could mean he could be under some serious threat there for his overall win, because you need to come down with at least a couple of drafting partners, as we've seen time and time again in the past.
Well, and also the thing is, like, if everyone's going to be so close together and it's just a field of 14, it's really easy to screw up the pit entrance at Talladega. It's, a wide pit entrance. There's not a lot of room. There's a lot of room for error. However, you're doing it at 180 miles an hour, so error comes quickly, and you're not going to be able to fix it. So if he comes down, say, without someone, or he comes down and accidentally gets turned, that could be trouble for him. And there's still another few people in this that are in the championship fight. Dominic Howes all the way down to 9th. Like, is he going to stay in it? Is he going to fight through the field? There's a couple different storylines and a couple different ways the race could go. And again, you mentioned it, getting on and off pit road, that's going to be one of the major ones.
Kyle Trudell missed the call for drivers to their cars, please. So he is going to have to make the start from pit road today. So bad start for Trudell, who is likely going to see himself go in a lap down here before too long as a result of he's going to get out well before the field could get back around him. The problem is going to be he's not going to have anybody to help him out with the draft. So he's going to be, I would estimate, about 15 miles an hour slower at least on the regular. So definitely bad news there for Trudell, but We'll have to wait and see how that's going to go here. Still down on the back straightaway. It's a very long track. 2.6 miles is this facility. It's only about a 1/10 of a mile longer than the Daytona International Speedway, but it certainly looks a heck of a lot bigger, doesn't it?
Well, when you go around for pacing laps, it feels a lot longer. Especially if those of you who have had long races here at Talladega and you've had multiple cautions in a row, everyone knows how painful this lap can be. Especially also since the finish line is much further down than at Daytona, so that gives it a slightly longer feel.
I can testify to that one for sure. Well, they are coming on up here for the final section here before we go green. Jonathan, your final thoughts here before we get things underway.
Everyone, just stay calm. There's only 14 of you. Don't be rash. Just because you have that fast repair doesn't mean you can be silly from the start. Gotta keep calm.
So the pace car pulls down to pit road. We are now waiting on Nick Silver, who still has a long way to go. Like you said, it's not in the trial vote like it is at Daytona International Speedway. It is quite a ways further down, just at the exit of pit road. So Nick Silver will take the field around through the trial for the final time today before we go green. And now he's going to jump on the lap pedal, and we are underway for Talladega Superspeedway in the second half of the RealSimRacing IROC Series powered by IRAPS. Is underway for Talladega Superspeedway, already almost 3 wide in the back as Evan Basocco chops off Dylan Coyle in the run to try to get to the bottom side.
I think Dylan did not get the best launch he wanted, and Evan saw that and went, well, I'm taking advantage of that immediately, and now those two are going to have to try and work together on the high side as everyone else immediately is going to the bottom.
On board with Matthew Marr at the moment, running just behind Nick Silver. I think at the moment Marr is going to be content to just kind of sit in the back there, and I don't see why you would want to do anything else. Stay behind, save some fuel. You're not going to win the race by getting up there in front. You've still got yourself 49, 50 laps to go in the race. So Matthew Marr is going to be able to potentially save a lot of fuel here. One car is stuck on the outside line. That is Tom Moreno, who's going to have to find a way in through the bottom. As just about the entire field is single file out. Checking in with Kyle Trudell. He is also out on the racetrack, and he is just a little ways behind the field here, but it is a long way to go for the 7 car to catch back up as we ride on board with Evan Basocco right in the thick of that leading train. All the single file racing here is something that we can honestly expect to see for a good portion of the race, because a lot of drivers at the moment are going to try to take things nice and settled. They're not going to make too many big moves, as we see Dominic Howell elected to not want to wait around too much. He's going to get a run on Manasseh Major and try to go around the outside line here. Gets a bit wobbly though on the middle group there on the track, and Howell's not going to be able to get clear, so he is going to end up falling right down to the back of the train. So definitely not, I think, what Hal wanted to have. But look at the run he's getting anyway off the corner. He has got a massive drive off that top side. We know how powerful the momentum can be. Didn't realize it would be that strong, though, here in the super late models. As now Basocco and Coyle are also running up with him to the top line. So they're trying to open up a second groove here really early.
I think the slingshot effect you can get off these corners is going to be huge. So I think if the 13 can get to the back of that 86 and really give a strong shove down the straightaway, there's going to be a chance maybe for this middle line to get going. And opposite of what we've seen in the Cup cars. Those Cup cars, like that top line did not work, and now all of a sudden, Al's making it work. He's going forward. He was alongside Major, now he's alongside Ross Cato.
Now, of course, we have to remember as well that Dominic Howe was burning a lot more fuel, though, than guys like Basocco and Dylan Coyle are. And is Trevin Valderrama, he is on a controller. Oh, my goodness me. So Trevin Valderrama on a controller. Never seen that before at a super speedway race. And that is no doubt not the most settling of sights to see if you're one of these drivers down here in the field. But he's kind of keeping a ways back for now. He's got some great car control, all things considered, though, because this is honestly one of those tracks where it looks so easy, but if you want to really keep the car properly straight, a wheel would be the way to go.
Yeah, because there's so many different bumps, and even if you get close to that inside groove there's bumps to kick you up on the racetrack, and there's some that can kick you below the racetrack. So it's not a completely smooth speedway like you think about Daytona. That's a lot easier for car control. This track is one of the roughest in terms of car control, just because of how old the surface is. That does terrify me, though, that he's on a controller. I mean, it's impressive. I'll give him that, but it's a bit terrifying.
So in the two trains here, on the bottom side, you have Silver, Mara, Cato, Major. Looks like I think I could see Soa in there. Chambliss is in there as well, and Valderrama running the bottom side. On top, you've got Moreno, Coyle, Basocco, and Howe kind of leading the charge on the outside groove there. So those are the drivers kind of in those individual lines. It looks like the outside line, though, has really stalled out. They have not been able to get back past Ross Cato here, and it looks like the top three are starting to pull away. Oh, maybe not, as Cato gets 2 wheels below that yellow line. Not sure if there is a yellow line rule at the moment here at these super speedways, but that kind of caused him to lose a little bit of ground. I think there's a bit of a checkup up there from Matthew Mara.
Yeah, if you close too quickly going into turn 3, that accordion effect starts. And that's the reason I think also why this top line is succeeding. Soko's not having to really check up much to Dominic Howe. He's just kind of riding in the draft, where I think Mara is having to check up a little bit more to Silver. So that accordion effect slows down that bottom, gives a little bit of side draft to the high side, and then the high side can crawl its way forward. As it's doing right now, the 86 is now definitively in 3rd position.
So he is up in the 3rd position, or battling for 3rd position technically for now. And you can see Mara is getting oh so close to the back end of Nick Silver. Still not giving him the bumper. As we heard from Dylan Coyle, it would be a really brave move. It would take 2 very skilled drivers to realistically make that work. But you can see from this overhead shot here, this is a great shot to kind of show these runs off the corners. Dominic Howe is getting a fantastic drive off of these corners. He's just not able to really side draft Dominic Cato enough to be able to capitalize the most, particularly down the front straightaway. This is where he's actually losing quite a bit of time, because this tri-oval, it's where his run completely stalls out.
Yeah, that inside line, I think, is a much more stable area through the tri-oval, at least at the moment. And then in the corners, it's just not doing well. The thing for me is, though, once that 86 gets alongside the 23 of Mara, what is Silver going to do? He's going to jump up and try and get help from Dominic Howe, or is he going to stay content on the bottom? He might stay content on the bottom, because Howe all of a sudden had to back off, and now there's this huge gap between Ross Cato and Minazzi Major.
So still 2 lines running very, very strong here at the moment, with Silver, Mara both on the bottom side. You got Cato as well. Howe is still doing a great job running the outside group, with, of course, Pasoko and Coyle both right behind. But that outside would be a lot better, I can guarantee it, if you would be able to, if they'd be able to bump drive each other. Of course, with the Cup cars, they'd be able to rocket right up to the front there, but you just can't do that in these cars. They're just too fragile, and they're too loose as is. In fact, it's probably only a matter of time before we see one of these cars shoot to the inside with just getting loose off the corner. And when that happens, we gotta hope it's not a car from the top side that's shooting down.
No, or even what's worse, what if a car from the bottom shoots up and hits someone in the top lane, and then it's an accordion effect and gets the rest of the lanes. So right now, we just gotta hope for all the nice car control. Going just in a straight line. Really good, calm way to start the race. Just kind of 2 lines, everyone just figuring out where to go, just saving fuel, just having a time.
But having these lines be single file or even double file, it's a really common thing to see here in super speedway racing, whether that be from Daytona or Talladega. At those 2 tracks, this kind of racing is very common no matter what you see, what kind of stock car racing you should say, I could see. I know occasionally iRacing sends the Indy cars here, and that is a whole other hornet's nest that you really just, I can't even describe it. You have to see it for yourself in order to properly be able to get a feel of what it's like, especially when you're running in the middle of one of those grooves. But this is a very common sight to see here, and this is what we can expect to see. It does look, though, like that back portion of that train has started to back off a little bit there. Particularly from the inside line, I'm noticing like the 75 car of Silva and Valderrama are both starting to drop back a little bit more. Did they just get loose, you reckon, or do you think they're actually trying to maybe get back to either A, save fuel, or get a better run on the field in front of them?
I think Silva's trying to go back and get Valderrama, because Valderrama was a bit off the group to begin with, so I'm wondering if he's going back to get him. And all of a sudden, I think the 2 race spot commentators have gotten Dominic Howe and have said goodbye.
Dominic Howe decided he was done burning fuel up in front and let them pass. That's a really good thing to note as well. Right now, Nick Silver is burning the most fuel out of anybody in this top grouping here. So he's going to have to come down sooner than anybody at this moment. Dominic Howe realized that he was burning a lot of fuel as well, so he decided to get back in line, do a bit of fuel saving himself here. It's a good strategy as well, because when you're on the outside lane, it's a lot easier to move up and let a field through. But at the moment for Nick Silver, he's kind of stuck where he is, but most importantly, who is stuck is Ross Cato if you wanted to go to the outside and try to get a run on him for the lead.
Yeah, Cato just has nowhere to go. He's in no man's land in 3rd place at the moment if these lines continue, although now that I say that, now Dylan Coyle is pulled out of line, and now Evan is going to be pushed by Dominic Howe. So I'm wondering if they're just testing the waters a little bit of who's the better pusher and who's the better leader of the pack.
Well, it looked as though Busoko actually got a bit sideways off of turn number 4, so Coyle tried to just follow him, and Howe just shuffled him out of line, and now Coyle's filtered himself back down into the low line. I mean, there's only 2 cars at the moment running that top line. You do have Tom Moreno trying to close in as well, but it might be a little bit before we can see that happening here. A fifth of the race already passed, though. It's just over 20% of the race is through now, and we've still been running this race very, very clean. This has been a great start so far to this race. 2 drivers have separated from the field in the back. Those drivers are Stove Price Jr. and Nicholas Marr. They're running their own 2-car pack. They can still see the top grouping. They're about 3 seconds or so behind the main field. You can see them there on the right side of your screen. They're both working together, just kind of taking it nice and simple, while the main train continues to pull further and further away in front.
Like Green Bay Packers colors back there with those 2 by themselves. But this could be a smart tactic, I think, for those 2, because if these, front 11 get kind of feisty and get up in a crash, all of a sudden these guys are going to be promoted to high in the top 10 or maybe even back in the top 5, depending on how things go. And also don't forget about Kyle Trudell, who started from the pit lane. He's 7 seconds off the lead. The leaders aren't catching him at the rate, I think, that we'd expect when they're all in this group. So Trudell might be okay to stay on the lead lap. So again, if something happens, he can be brought into this fight.
Let's bring up our in-race reporter again here. We'll have another word. We're here with Dylan Coyle. Well, Dylan, you've been running out there for some time here under green flag conditions, going on to lap number 13 here. What's the race been like so far? Because we've been mentioning that this has been a really calm start to the race, all things considered. We haven't really seen any big shakers or movers yet so far this race.
Well, the broadcast, you guys think that it's been a very calm start? We don't feel like that in the Discord right now. It's been a little bit crazy. We don't know if it's smart to go up high or on the bottom. Dominic Howe made a little bit of a rude move, I can't lie, and went 3 wide between me and when I was trying to push Evan. But you know what? It's just a lot of fun right now. We're trying to not die, and we'll try to not die until we do die. So, isn't that life?
Always good strategy.
He's getting philosophical on us, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we had math lessons with Dylan Coyle and the Twin River Taker for the Classic IndyCar Series. I guess it's time for therapy lessons now with Dylan Coyle at Talladega Superspeedway. So this guy's just a jack of all trades. Whether he's a master of them is yet to be determined. We'll let you guys make the decision on that one here. But Dylan, just one more question before we move down here as well. How's the fuel strategy looking here? Because I think is the big question at the moment, because you got guys up front like Nick Silver that are burning a heck of a lot more than any of you guys are in the back here.
16 laps, it says that we have left of fuel, so we could go in 1 stop. We'll see if that is exactly what we go to, but I'll get back to the racing here. Hopefully it's been a good show for y'all.
It's been a great show so far. No doubt this is going to be a great show right through the checker flag. Well, thank you for talking to us, Dylan, and we'll talk to you again here shortly. Well, you heard it there, Jonathan. About 16, we're going to be 15 laps out now. A fuel that the guys deep in the field at least have remaining. Not sure if I can say the same for Nick Silver, but for guys in Dylan Coyle, that means they're going to be stopping in about lap 30. So it looks like a one-stopper. Could very well be the strategy here, provided this race goes green to the end.
Well, then how many people want to go with Nick Silver? Because he's been the guy up front all day.
Oh, boy.
Did Minazzi Major just... Yeah, he just body slammed his way into the middle of the track. That was a bold move from the 82.
We almost had caution number 1, and that would be just my luck there to curse yet another race. But saying this race has been going great so far. And then we got our first caution just a few seconds later. It almost caught Dylan Coyle up in there as well. But yeah, Minazzi Major just bullied his way pretty much into that middle groove, forced Coyle up high. That's one way to get yourself onto the top line. Not sure if that'll be a generally improved move as Coyle does it. I think he's making his thoughts doing this. He's going way to the outside line, trying to open up a third group potentially. But yeah, didn't think that was going to quite work out for you there, Dylan. So he's going to slot himself back in line, third in line on the top line at the moment.
Minazzi made a move where basically it's just watch this, and now he's going to try and shove that 13 car to the lead. That is the mission I think Minazzi's on. Because the farthest anyone in that top lane has gotten is about like halfway to second place, and right now Evan's at that point.
Well, as Jeremy Clarkson put it very beautifully, watch this! And then usually something catastrophic follows that statement. So thankfully, we did not see that there, but you never know. With super speed racing, it could happen at any time. I'm going to play meteorologist here for a moment, and I'll give you some good old facts so far on how the track conditions and such are looking. It's 81 degrees Fahrenheit so far in the air, 93 on the track, so it's a relatively cool day here in Talladega, Alabama. Winds, though, 8 miles an hour, just up to the northeast, so it is a fairly gusty day down there. It doesn't sound like much, but trust me, when you're throwing these cars around here at 180 plus miles an hour, it feels incredibly windy down there. About 44% of humidity is there, so it's pretty dry as well in terms of actual like air-water qualities.
Yeah, the good news is for these cars, they don't need they don't really need a lot of wind to make them upset. Just a little bit of wind can do it since they are very box shaped, but it's not as effective as much by the wind because they're heavier. They don't have as much aerodynamic properties as say the Cup car does right now, or even like an Indy car does. So it's still going to be smooth sailing racing, I think, through all the race. What concerns me, though, is the tire wear, the track temp, and if people are going to take tires on those pit stops and not just fuel, because sometimes in the Cup Series, you do see cars not take tires.
We'll have to see if the wind will affect them too much, because I mean, the cars, while being heavy at 2,100 pounds, that still is about 600 pounds lighter than the Cup cars. We've seen how much those cars can get unsettled by the air, and with those cars, we've seen in recent times, most notably Brendan Gong, and even more recently Joey Logano, at the same track, in the same turn, the air, if they got some of the cars, they just take off like airplanes. So it would not surprise me if we saw some pretty insane wrecks start happening here if these cars start to get a little bit more unsettled. It's only going to take that little bit of time to kind of kick these cars around, and well, we know it's going to be on from there because you just cannot slow down enough. Because if you're not going to, especially at the front of the train, if you slow down enough for the wreck in front, you're probably going to get hit up the rear from somebody up behind who cannot check up in time.
No, we've seen that time and time again, and it's hard to react, especially when everyone's in this pack like this. You can't react, it either has to be perfect or you're going to be wrong. There's no in between. There's no, you can barely get out of it and maybe get away with a little bit of damage. That's a rare feat, because that's almost perfect in many cases.
Indeed it is. So, round 4 here of the RSR IROC series powered by IRAPS is still running very strong. IRAPS, of course, did a fantastic job with the high-quality wraps that you can see here on these cars at the moment down there on the track. They, of course, make these kinds of wraps for all kinds of racing. They definitely want you to look good while going fast. And, I mean, why the heck not? These guys certainly look good while they're flying themselves around at this track at 185 miles an hour minimum. One car down to the apron. That's Ross Cato. Did he get unsettled there? I think he actually might have been gotten tapped there from Matthew Mara or from the number 1 car Dominic Hodges behind, but that is really kind of split up the train on the bottom side as everybody scrambles to let Ross Cato back up. That was a close one there and almost was caution number 1.
And it can be as simple as that, just a little tap to the rear. Anything like that can send these drivers around, and all of a sudden we have a major, kind of weird shakeup in our top 5 now, because now Evan Pasoko's now on the inside with Matthew Maher, and Cato's all the way at the rear of this train, where instead he's been running towards the front.
Yeah, that big mess there over turn 2 definitely jumbled up a good portion of the field here. Matthew Maher did say, that was my bad out there on the track, and I think what happened, kind of taking a glance back, I think Maher got a bit squirrely just on the bottom side coming off of turn number 2, and that caused Cato to have to check up big time to avoid getting running them over, and he just ducked down low to avoid getting run over by Dominic Howe. So I think that's kind of the situation that happened there. So it's just one of those honest mistakes that can happen there. It's a very easy thing to do in these cars as well.
Well, now we have kind of a mix-up of the lines here, and I'm interested to see how this top group works out with Major and Howe 1 and 2, because Major's been the most aggressive driver so far, and Howe seems to be the one that has the best closing speed on that outside line, so maybe those two can challenge Nick Silver up front. But again, now Nick Silver has a new dance partner and Evan Pasoko behind.
Kind of refreshing the points situation here at the moment. Nick Silver is still up in the head here by 19 points, but that's where it gets really tight behind. It's just 2 points back for Joseph Tice to Dominic Howe. Just 1 point back from him to Major. 8 points from him to Coyle, and 7 points from him to Valderrama. So the spots just within the top 5 here and coming on up to second place are still very, very tight. At this point in time, Nick Silver is getting set to kind of set sail here with that points lead, but it still is at a point where one bad race could really compromise Silver's run here at the championship. Despite being 19 points ahead, he's got a little bit of a cushion to work with, but he is most certainly not safe. So he definitely is going to be trying to do as hard as keep everybody behind. And you see without some Major there in the 82 cars, this is on board with Nick Silver. Major is starting to open up that top lane again, and he's actually getting some pretty good runs here off of turn 2 and 4, and he was alongside Silver that last time by entering turn 1.
And now this is the decision I talked about for Nick Silver. Does he come up and block them this early on in the race, or does he let them race? And it looks like he's going to let them try and get up alongside. You know, getting to Nick Silver is one thing. Trying to get enough speed to clear Nick Silver is going to be another for Minazzi, Major, and Dominic Howe. Because here's the other thing. What if Major wants to take Howe with him? They're going to have to get all the way out in front of Nick Silver to make that happen.
It's important to remember as well that if Nick Silver tries to go up to block, that's going to be a perfect opportunity for Evan Basoko to sweep through and take the race lead away, because that's going to cause a big checkup on the outside line. And Evan Basoko, he'll be able to just sweep through and say, well, thank you very much. I will take that race lead. And that means that'll be Matthew Mara headed up the train down to the bottom. But Major is really pinching in Basoko there against that turn 1 and 2 apron. I think he's trying to get a good side draft off the corner. He's doing that beautifully. Look at the massive head of steam that he gets all the way down this back straightaway. If only Howe could give him the smallest of taps, it could be enough to boost them up in front, but I doubt Howe is going to want to take such a big risk like that still so early on. We're not even halfway yet, though we are closing in.
Now, I don't think Howe wants to take the risk, and Howe doesn't even want to take the risk being on the outside anymore. He's going to ditch Minazzi Major and go to the inside, and I think that's for the best. It's kind of funny actually looking at this top 7 right now, because it looks like all the shades of blue versus all the shades of red.
Major's still making the outside line work, though. I mean, look at this. He still has a massive run through 1 and 2 here, even without any help from behind from Dominic Howe. Tom Moreno is now using this to close on in. Now, here's the bigger question for Moreno. Does he go 3 wide high around Major? He's got a big head of steam here.
Yeah, I think that side draft is just really, really strong on some of these cars, because Major's not really going anywhere. He side drafted Basoko getting into the corner and out of the corner, is able to hold this position. Now Tom Moreno has the biggest head of steam. I'm wondering if Howe's kind of regretting this decision. He's like, oh no, I could have gotten to the lead now with that head of momentum the 82 had.
25 down. 25 to go. Let's take a quick IRAPS midway race break here. Of course, IRAPS, as always, producing high-quality custom and virtual wraps for iRacing vehicles of all kinds. They want you to look good while going fast. Also helping out with this series to keep their lights on is the McConey Setup Shop, which is your home for iRacing setups and the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports, which fields the number 46 and the 90 in the Coca-Cola iRacing series of Jimmy Mullins and Zach Novak. With everything from the Legends of the Cup cars, they got you covered. Dirt setups by Outlaws Pro Driver Evan Say are also available, so head on over to www.McConeySetupShop.com today. You can't beat the best, especially True Motorsports, so do not settle for the rest. And last but not least, Sim Seats, and they have been designed and fabricated in high-quality, made-in-USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey RC packages, and custom fabrication since 2009. Their customer base includes all races from amateur to the pro ranks. Everyone on the Sim Seats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join Sim Seats for the thrill of racing anytime, any day, any car, any track. Visit simseats.com to learn more. Green flag pit stops underway. Evan Basoko leads them in. Dylan Coyle just behind. Steve So is in behind. Trevor Valderrama's hit the pit wall in the O2 machine, so bad stop for him. Stove Price Jr. as well. And Valderrama, well, he is in all sorts of trouble here for his pit strategy now.
Yeah, he's going to have to stay and get repaired and maybe stay like 10 seconds longer. The good news is if he stays 10 seconds longer, that's not too bad because Kyle Trudell was about 10 seconds behind, so we'll have a friend. The bad news is, like, how much damage does that car potentially have from hitting that wall?
There's a very focused Dylan Coyle just leaving pit road. The rest of the field just coming around through turns, through the front straightaway now. They're going to be passing up this field here. There is Valderrama just leaving pit road as well. There's the lead train, headed up by Nick Silver. Single file in its entirety. They're going to put those drivers that just came down some laps. So There you just saw Soa and Price Jr. go laps down. And Caution comes out now. Whoa, look out for Pasoko. Big sideways moment off of turn number 2. Recovers the car, and we stay green, but that's the most side we've seen the car get all race long. And that is also compromised Pasoko. It's putting him right in the grips here of Steve Soa if he can get the run. Now, when does this top train come in?
It's got to be soon. Nick Silver is going to be running low on fuel, right? Unless the draft is not saving as much as we think. Because if it's not saving that much, then maybe this top group can go another lap. And no, they're all coming down. This will be the last of the late breakers.
Nick Silver side by side for the race lead with Dominic Howe into pit road. The number 1 car trying to go for the pass here on Nick Silver in the run down to the pit lane. And that was a great run there from Dominic Howe to try to get his way in there. And he just barely made his way down there in time as well. So now into pit road. And now these cars, I don't think they are going to go up on the jacks here. So these guys do think that taking tires is the way to go here on these pit stops. So now the question is, where does Dylan Coyle and the others cycle their way through? The pit lane delta in total is about 45 seconds in total, but that's not counting the time it takes to get up to speed. And these guys still have quite a ways back here before they're going to be able to catch on up. There is some of the drivers starting to make their way out. Chambliss is going to be out first, almost first, as Dominic Howe, Nick Silver right behind, Ross Cato's right behind them as well. But Chambliss jumping up a couple of spots there, right on pit exit. But not a major. Matt Demar out just behind, with Tom Moreno just behind them. There is Dylan Coyle trying to dart his way and pick up a couple of spots on the outside line. Now the lead lap car is trying to work their way back to the pack, and it's going to take a few laps, but sooner or later, this train will reform.
Sooner or later, and I think for some of the first group that came down, it's kind of all bad news at the moment, because the only one in that group that is going to get in the top 5, I think, is Dylan. Because the next car in line from that group is Evan Pasoko, who's going to be a little bit off of Minazzi Major and a little bit behind Tom Morano.
The driver that lost out the most, though, Trevin Valderrama, down 14 seconds with Kyle Trudell, 5 seconds from the rest of the field, and that is because of a massive pit blunder for the O2 on pit road. Slid his box and actually clipped the pit wall as well, so that's the exact opposite of what you want to have happen here. So a couple of trains are starting to form it up here. You got Nick Silver and Dominic Howe running on their own in 1 and 2. Ross Cato, Dylan Coyle, Brian Chambliss, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They're all in the train. 6th and 7th is Matthew Martin, not to major. They're in their own train. Pasoko running on his lonesome. Stoke Price Jr., Moreno, and the other Mara, Nicholas, running 8th, 9th, and 10th at the moment, with Kyle Trudell and Trevin Valderrama 12th and 13th on the field. Steve Soa is still out there, but is still a lap down as well. I want to point out that Kyle Trudell has been able to so far keep from going a lap down here. Steve Soa, unfortunately, not so lucky.
I think if Soa had an issue as well sometime on that pit stop, because he was in the lead lap. He was not too far away from Valderrama. I'm wondering if he got a penalty or some sort.
Ooh, he must have. I just checked his pit delta. 46 seconds. That is about 25 seconds longer than anybody else down on pit road. So he definitely had a penalty of some sort. Most likely speeding on entry.
Yeah, we saw a couple guys getting a little frisky on the way down, getting really, really anxious on the brakes, trying to make up as much time as possible. But now here's the question. Can this group of 3 cars in a draft catch the 1 and the 3 that are 2.5 seconds up the road?
It's going to be difficult. The crucial point as well to mention is these guys are running faster than those guys at the top train, because these guys are all running in the draft here. Dominic Howe and Nick Silver are not. They have no help up there at the moment in the lead. And that can play in big here with how this plays out. You can already see they're really reeling in Dominic Howe here. And this 4-car train will be able to just swap Nick Silver out in front.
Yeah, it just depends on the speed difference, because it feels like it's only about like 2 or 3 tenths a lap. So it's still going to take a while, I think, to really catch Nick Silver. Although once you get in like half a second range, all of a sudden you get the draft from the car in front. You can see right now Ross Cato getting a huge pull from that 1 car in front, or the 86 car, excuse me, and they'll now slingshot around. Unless they want to work with him, if they want to make a friend.
It looks like they're going to try to work with Dominic Howe here, kind of give him the push that he might need to kind of work his way on up there to the front. They do have to check up a little bit to kind of match his speed, but now with all of them in one big air pocket together, they are going to be able to slowly start reeling in the car just in front of Nick Silver. So let's look at the gap at the moment, 1.97 seconds. He needs to start to gradually close in, though, by about a couple of hundredths every straightaway at the moment, and even through these corners as well. So it was 1.97 at the start of the lap. Let's see what it is when we get to the end of the lap. It's also worth noting here, Jonathan, they only really need to get within about 1.2 seconds here. That's when they're actually going to catch Nick Silver's draft and be able to start pulling them in even faster.
Yeah, but they got to make sure they kind of work together, because it doesn't look like the overall speed difference is that much between the 3 and the 86. It seems like they're running fairly the same speeds, although I love this blimp shot, and if you just see the 3 car, just keep thinking of the song All By Myself. It's just going on in my head.
It was 1.97 seconds last time by. This time by 1.81. So they closed in by about 0.2 of a second on that last lap alone. So they are slowly catching them. 51.937 last time by for Dominic Howell, 52.088 for Nick Silver. So there's your difference. A couple of tenths every lap. They're going to catch him by the end of this race.
Yeah, it's just it's only a couple of tenths by the end of the lap, so Nick has time, I think, to contemplate and save a little fuel and think about what he wants to do, because right now it just doesn't seem like this draft is as big of a deal as we thought it was at the start. Right now, like, yeah, Dylan is going to be running the fastest. He has 2 cars behind, and same with Brian Chambliss, but I think just because there are 4 cars and not like a huge pack, it means they don't have enough speed. They're going to catch him now. I mean, they're slowly chipping away on it, but just not at the speed I think they want to.
And it was even faster the last time by, though. It's only a second and a half down between them. And again, they only have to catch him by about another 0.3 of a second. And then they're going to be within this draft to be able to reel it down even quicker. So the guys in the back, like Mara, Major, Pasoko, and so on, they're not going to be able to catch this top train. But these guys are definitely going to catch Nick Silver. That 3 car at the moment, it is a sitting duck in the front.
Yeah, and is the train going to try and go around Nick Silver, or are they going to sit behind like they did with Dominic Howe and go right behind him? I feel like since Nick has led every lap of this race, you might as well just try and pass the 3 car. But I don't know what the mindset is. I also don't know how quickly they're going to get him. You're talking about like what, 2-3 tenths a lap. Well, what's that? Next 10 laps will be 10 to go when they get the line. By the time they catch him.
Depends on how fast they're going when they catch him, of course, because you got to make sure that you're going fast enough to not just get alongside, but to complete the pass. Because if you get alongside, you may as well just sit behind them.
I mean, if all 4 of them go to the outside and get around Nick Silver and force him to the rear of this chain, then I think that could be beneficial to everyone in this group.
1.2, they've caught the draft of Nick Silver, the points leader coming into today. He really needs a good win here today to kind of secure himself up there in the top of the point standings and make himself more safe than he already is coming into the second to last round at the Auto Club Speedway. Another 50-lap event coming up at the Auto Club Speedway in just about 1 month's time. And then, of course, we'll swing on over to Chicagoland Speedway for a 75-lap season finale. Now, I can't wait for Chicagoland personally here, Jonathan, because that is a track where multi-groove racing is very, very prominent. And it's going to be such a good run to go to 75 laps of racing there, where the top line could really be dominant there in that, especially with these super late models. I did notice something here. Nick Silver moved to the outside lane on the back straightaway, but in doing so, kept the guys in front on the bottom. Dominic Howe thought about going to the top, but decided to stay down low because he didn't know if Ross Cato behind him would also fall into the top side. And if they go side by side, it's game over.
I think they're trying to find where the momentum is, and I think also Mara's worried about fuel, I think is what it is, because he was one of those first guys down. He's going to try and cycle back and save as he touches the wall a little bit. Just a Darlington stripe at Talladega. Carry on, nothing to see here.
And this is, of course, Matthew Marr running with Evan Pasoko and Munatsi Major in the second train that we got here. This is for 6th, 7th, and 8th place at the moment on the track. You've also got Nicholas Marr and Stowe Price Jr. running in 10th and 9th. They've got Tom Moreno in 11th just behind them. Trevor Valderrama and Kyle Trudell are still 12th and 13th behind, with Steve Soa taking up the rear about half a lap so far behind your leaders, and already 1 lap down as well. Look at the gap, though, for the overall race lead. Under a second now. They're going to catch him. And they're probably going to catch him here with still a good 10 laps to go. So we got a fight on our hands here.
Again, it just depends what they want to do with him when they catch him. Do they want to pass him and try and freight train him? I think that's what Howard's trying to signal. He's trying to signal he wants to go high and pass the 3 car. But I'm not sure if the 12 wants to go with him.
Well, that's what Dylan Coyle is trying to figure out right now with the other guys. He just said on the radio, blow by or link up. So we're going to see what they're going to do. They're now all running the outside lane here, trying to get to the trap. I think what's going to really be crucial in this decision as well here, Jonathan, is do they catch him on a corner or on a straight? Because there's no point in trying to blow past him on a corner. It's not going to happen. It never does. It has to happen on a straightaway. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. But I think they're going to have to stick behind him here, unless they really want to try something gutsy here coming out of the tri-oval into turn number 1. So Dominic Howe has now officially caught Nick Silver, the race leader. About the same distance between him and Silver as there is between Howe and Cato. So it looks like he will be linking up with Nick Silver. Nick Silver had the field catch him at the best possible opportunity because they could have just blown right past him.
I feel like if they worked together and worked on that high line, they could have thought about it, and all of a sudden, I think there was a checkup there when they initially caught the 3, and they got really slow. So Chambliss and Coyle had to go to the outside and get a little bit antsy.
We're right on the board with Ross Cato. You can see there's another face of concentration right there on the bottom right as Cato tries to fend off Dylan Coyle for third just on the outside line. Coyle has Chambliss working for him, but you can see how much wheel work Cato's having to put in to keep this car straight. And now he's going to move up with Dominic Howe, and they're going to try to go for the race lead coming out of the tri-oval side by side with Silver in the blast down the front straightaway and down towards turn number 1. 10 laps remaining here in the 50-lap feature.
Doesn't look like everyone was on the same page. It looks like Dylan went back to the inside. Now he's pushing Nick Silver. They had to get all 4 guys on that high line. That's the only way I think you're going to beat Silver in this scenario.
Well, now you got Dylan Coyle helping out Nick Silver on the inside line. That's kind of allowing someone to stay a little bit further in front. Ross Cato, look at how much twitching he's doing with that wheel. So many corrections. It almost looks like he's more turning right than he is left, trying to keep the car going in a straight line. It shows how fragile these cars are. As I say that, Brian Chambliss also bails out of the outside line and goes down to the bottom side. So Dominic Howe and Ross Cato, all of a sudden, they're leading that charge to the outside all by themselves.
The difference between that and this is that he's all by himself within just 2 cars, and the inside line only has 3. So it's not like earlier where there was this big group of guys on the inside and only 2 lone people on the outside. It's just 3 versus 2, and now it's 2 versus 3 as Dylan Coyle now wants to lead.
Moves up right in front of Howe. Dylan Coyle's done waiting around. He's going to try to go to the point now with Nick Silver still trying to fend him off on the bottom side. He's got Chambliss to help him. 9 to go here. About 8.5 now at this point in time as we enter turn number 3 for the 42nd time today. That 79 car is looking stronger. He could potentially find himself going for a race win, if not a podium today.
And he's been really smooth, really comfortable, I think, in this car at this track. It's just that, again, Nick Silver has just always had the help he needs when he needs it. Because right here, he has Chambliss right behind, keeping that 3 car in the contention. That 25 needs to drop out and go to the high side if they want to think about a change for the lead. But obviously, the 25 is thinking for himself. He knows that, well, I can get a top 5 spot if I sit here, or I can even go for the win if I sit here.
So with 8 laps remaining, now the big question is going to be, when we get around to the white flag, how desperate are these people going to get? Are we going to be seeing any big blocks down towards the yellow line? Are we going to be seeing anybody trying to force it 3, maybe 4 wide into the corners here? There's so much to consider here when trying to go for a win here. It isn't like a short track where you just got to make the decision, do I go for a bumper run or just dive it on in? Super speedways, you really have to set these passes up well in advance, especially if you're running in cars like these where you cannot bump track with each other.
Well, no, and you can even see, Howe and Cato trying to bump draft up top, and it's just not working at the moment. And I think the one thing that concerns me is that when they've come out of turn 4, they've left this gap in the middle a little bit. Every time between Silver and who's ever on the high side, if someone dives in between there, and it depends on who it is, what's going to happen coming out of the corner. Because even look, outside of this corner, huge gap in the middle there. Someone can shoot that gap and try and make it interesting. As now, does the outside have enough momentum?
Well, that's exactly what Coyle went up to the outside wall to do. The reason why he's going up so high off these corners is because he's trying to get more momentum. The higher up on the track you are, the more momentum you have up the corners because of the downhill zone as the transitioning, or as the banking transitions into flat ground. So Coyle's actually doing a great strategy here, and that is why Dominic Howe and Ross Cato at the moment have not been elected to go for the middle groove. They've been following him because Coyle, they see what Coyle's doing. He's getting the maximum amount of speed as possible off of these corners, and then diving down the inside to really pinch Silver in and try to get the side draft all the way down these straightaways. And now they are clean door to door with each other here into turn number 1. We're probably going to watch. He's probably going to do it again. Watch is going to go up to the wall here a little bit more off of turn number 2. Leaves the gap, but he has such a much better run than Silver off these corners. That was a bumper there from Dominic Howe. So bump drafting is possible in these cars, it would seem.
Howe's trying to do as much as he can to really, really push Dylan. And again, Dylan, he's trying to run this like it's a mile and a half, get out to the outside, go down as far as possible, and then get back up. Really use that momentum. And I think that's a strategy you use here in like the Legends cars, the 87 cars, really, because that gets you the fastest lap. And I'm wondering if he's running this like a Legends car, like a 1987 Monte Carlo or a 1987 Thunderbird, and it's working out for that Highland.
5 laps remaining here in the 4th race for the RealSimRacing IROC Series powered by IRAPS. Can Dylan Coyle manage to pick up his first win of the season here? Nick Silver trying to fend him off on the bottom side. It's anybody's game at this point. Obviously, when we get around to the white flag, that's just going to open up a whole other can of worms because that's where all the stocks really start to come on out. That's how these races will go. They're going to be completely calm one lap and then, well, not so much the next. It's going to be like a war zone out there. At the moment, though, it's a game of chess at the moment. These drivers trying to size each other up, trying to find who's going to make moves. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to help somebody out on the last lap. You want to try to find yourself a way to get to the front.
That's where the selfishness is going to come into play, I guess, at the end, is like who's going to make a move. And I think the biggest key and the biggest question mark in this top 5, I feel like, is Brian Shameless, because he's stuck right now behind Nick Silver. And again, they're giving him that room off the outside line. Is he going to come down? Is he going to try and come up and maybe interrupt something between Howe and Coyle? Or is he going to try and duck to the inside and pick Nick Silver off guard? I really don't know what the 25 is planning here.
Dominic Howe is giving the bumper to Dylan Coyle lap after lap here. He's found what works, and look at how much extra speed that gives the 79 car on the engine to these corners. He is always so much further out than he has been consistently all race long, but it still has not been enough to poke ahead of Silver at the line. He's got to get a little bit more speed. What he needs to do is get Brian Chambers to try to make a move as well. Chambers cannot help out Nick Silver here. That's the only reason at the moment, I think, why that 3 car is still out in the lead.
I just want to point out the last 3 laps they've gone by and they've been neck and neck. So I don't even know if you need to complete the pass. As long as like Dylan gets enough momentum out of 4, it could be a drag race to the line.
How often do we see that? That's just about almost every super speed race I've ever commentated. But look at the big run! Big wobble from the outside line as Dominic Howe got really sideways there with Dylan Coyle in the run. But look at that! That is helped Coyle out massively right to the quarter panel that time for Dylan Coyle. Nick Silver almost lost the lead there for good as Coyle was so close to getting clear, but Silver is still doing a great job at holding the inside line. Coming to 2 laps to go. This is about to get all sorts of intense here.
Again, the question mark is Chambers. What is he going to do, and where is he going to make a move? And every time they've been nose and nose at the line. It's hilarious. It's fantastic.
The last time by, just 0.005 of a second separating them in favor of Silver. So not going to be long now before we start to really kind of get things ramping up here, before the action starts to get off to a whole new high. Still side by side. Imagine if the start-finish line was on the back straightaway at some point, like halfway down to right at the entrance of 3. That would be something else.
All right, just because Phoenix gets to move the finish line all over the place doesn't mean we have to do it here. But now, and again, with that finish line down further in the pack, they don't need to clear Silver. I think if they get enough momentum, and we're going to see it on this lap, Coyle would have the lead coming to the line.
White flag is out. 2.6 miles left in the 4th race for the RealSimRacing IROC Series powered by IRAPS. Dylan Coyle out in front. Nick Silver trying to get the run through 1 and 2. Coyle's pitching him down. Dominic Howe trying to find some speed and behind in the 3rd place. Coyle bobbles through turns 1 and 2. Now, does Brian Chambliss go 3 wide for the race lead? Does Howe try to force the middle here? Ross Cato is still looking into behind as well, trying to find some way through. Back straightaway, final time today. Dylan Coyle has got himself about 1.5 more miles to make this pass work. He has got to get the run off of turn number 4 here to get this lead here and maybe make this work. Howe pinches in Chambliss on the inside line. Off of turn 4, final time today. Does Coyle have the run that it needs off of the final corner here through the trial, but now final run. Coyle has got the run. It's going to be a full-on drag race right down to start-finish line. Silver with the run to the bottom. Side by side, almost going into here. Coming to the line. Can he get it? He does! Dylan Coyle takes the victory on the very last lap of the race. 20 thousandths of a second. The 79 car is going to get it done here at Talladega.
I said he didn't need a clear. He just needed to run out of the corner. That's all you needed. He just needed one big push. And Chambliss, I mean, Nick Silver needs to go give a thank you to Brian Chambliss for keeping him in that race. I thought Chambliss was going to make a move on his own, but there was nothing that 25 car could do. And Dominic Howe and Cato and Dylan, they hunted Nick Silver down, and that's a well-deserved win for the 79.
Oh my gosh, what a race. Green to the end, not a single wreck in that race. That is exactly how you want to see one of these races go. And a fantastic photo finish to top it all off. Coyle got it done, got exactly what he needed to make that pass work. You can see the absolute disbelief on that man's face. No doubt sweating bullets right now, trying to comprehend what he has just done. First victory in the IROC series, probably, I think, one of his first victories in the Real Sim Racing League altogether. And he is going to burn it down to the first straightaway and immediately hit the wall in a failed attempt. But he's still going to put on the cloud of smoke regardless.
I mean, he earned it. Because also keep in mind, of that top 5 group, who was the one to pit first? Who was in that first group for pitting? No one but Dylan. Dylan had a fantastic in and out, got in his pit box cleanly, and again, well behaved at the draft. Because look at how hard Dominic Howe was pushing him, and the fact that Howe was able to keep it together too. So seeing the Chambliss at one point, he was on the back bumper of Dylan. It's just an amazing feeling. He deserves this giant burnout, and you can see Evan giving him the congratulations as well.
And of course, Dylan making a lot of work for the groundskeepers after the race, but like you said, he's definitely earned this one. So he's definitely earned himself a win here today. Well, with that in mind, let's take a look here at the post-race results. Dylan Coyle for Phantom Sim Racing managed to get it done. Also takes the fastest lap of the race on lap number 40. Nick Silver is in second place, 200ths of a second back. Dominic Howe is in third. Brian Chambliss in fourth. Ross Cato sits in fifth with Evan Pasoko in sixth. Matthew Marr 7th, Stove Price Jr. in 8th, Nicholas Marr 9th, with Tom Moreno rounding out the top 10. Trevor Valderrama is in 11th after a botched pit stop. Sees him finish well down the order, with Manazzi Major in 12th and Kyle Trudell in 13th. Steve Silva finishing the race 1 lap down. What an incredible race. I mean, absolutely bonkers of a race here today. That was just absolutely unbelievable. What kind of a finish we've seen there. Super Speedway Racing, they are the wild card races. Anybody can win here. You just need to know where to put your car at the right time to get it done. And Coyle knew where to put his car today.
And again, it was the 3 wild cards in that race were the 3 guys that were pushing: Chambliss, Howe, and Cato. And I'm a little surprised that none of them made a move, but I almost think it was for the betterment that they didn't. Because say Dylan gets a huge run and gets fully clear of Silver, all of a sudden Dominic Howe might be sitting in second place. So it might have been to their betterment that they stayed together, but just an exciting finish all in all.
Well, we're taking a replay of the last lap there, and what a big battle as well for Coyle. That nearly cost him the race. We've also got Dylan Coyle up here in the broadcast booth with us, so we're obviously going to give him a bit of a chat as well. Well, Dylan, we are looking over your last lap right now, and you finally got it done. First win in the IROC series for Real Sim Racing, and I think probably your first victory in Real Sim Racing altogether, if memory serves me right. But I think you've definitely earned this one. But wow, what a final lap.
Oh my God, guys, I've got tears in my eyes. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
Well, kind of walk us through. Why don't we take a look at the last lap? Well, walk us through from start to finish. You got the run down the front straightaway. It was looking good. Then you bobbled in 1 and 2. And we thought it was all over at that point. But you still managed to come through and managed to punch your way home and take the victory. So tell us what that whole last lap looked like from your side.
Oh my God. You know, it all really started during pit cycle. You were telling me about always missing my pit marks. I was the fastest, apparently, from our group. It was a shame because I thought we were going to be all together, and then I came out in fourth for the last half of the race. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. And then it was just a matter of trying to find the right hole to go in. I knew if I had a chance, it was going to be on the outside of Nick. He was doing so well all race. And I don't even remember who was behind me pushing, but my goodness, I think it was Dominic Howe. I hope I'm not forgetting who it was, but I was getting pushed ridiculously hard, and it was a little scary, but I knew if something was going to happen, I needed to just stick with it. And that last lap, if it wasn't for one final shove at the end, I would not have finished first. Oh my God.
And of course, we were talking about this race is very much a wild card race. Just about anybody can win here, and anything can happen. So I would say you just need to know where to put your car, and you definitely put your car in the right place today to kind of take it home to victory later as well. We still need to work on your burnout celebration. I will admit you made a lot of work for the groundskeeper. We'll work on that another time because hopefully we'll see you in victory lane again at Auto Club. But let's talk about Auto Club. Very different beast compared to even Michigan Speedway, the closest you can compare to it. What do you think that race is going to be like for you? Do you think you can maybe go back to back?
I don't know. I'm not even thinking about it yet. I just want to soak this in a little bit more. It hasn't fully hit me yet. Auto Club, you know, it's a very wide track, so very flat compared to Michigan. It's a wider, flatter Michigan, so it's going to develop into different racing, and I'm not exactly sure what to think of for that race. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I'm not answering the questions as well as I could.
I don't blame you considering the incredible finish that we saw just a few moments ago. Well, we are going to let you go here then, Dylan. Of course, have our other two finishers we got to talk to as well. I wish I could talk to you all night. We'll probably talk more after this broadcast is over. But before I let you go here, anyone that you'd like to shout out for us here today?
Oh my goodness. Wow, I've never had to do one of these things, you know. I guess shout out to everyone really from RealSimRacing, who I can see the Discord chats. Everyone's saying positive things, and it's a joy to race with everybody and be a part of the broadcast. And you know that I got to thank my good friend Jake Mannion, who makes some of my cars, designed some of them. Galazzo with his YouTube show. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, get used to it. You never know. You might find yourself up here again soon. So, well, thank you for talking to us, Dylan, and congratulations on the epic win tonight. And, well, best of luck next week at Auto Club. Or next month, rather.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll be on the broadcast and the race next week.
All right. Cheers, Dylan. You have a good one.
Thank you.
That was your race winner, Dylan Coyle, bringing it home in the first place for us today. We're going to continue to move things on down the order, and I think this time we're going to bring up the current points leader, the driver that just barely lost out today, Nick Silver, as we take another look at that epic finish. Well, Jonathan, I'm going to pass things off to you. I'll let you handle our points leader and second place finisher, Nick Silver.
Well, Nick, you were up front all race long, and you lost it by just 20 thousandths of a second. How was it coming to the line? Did you feel like Shameless gave you as much of a shove he could, or was it just inevitable?
Yeah, bless his heart, he was doing all he could, and he was my only hope there, everybody else ganging up on top. So I really appreciate him sticking with me there. It's hard to even be mad at that finish. That was a great win by Dylan. Real intense side-by-side racing for like 15 laps, I think it was there at the end. You know, it was well-deserved. He was fighting up top, and he got it.
Let's talk about this race just a little bit. Like, as a whole, you were leading almost the entire time. You came down pit road, and then all of a sudden you came out of pit road with a 2-second lead. Like, how did you feel after seeing basically no one in your rearview mirror for a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't really think I was underfilling it on fuel or anything like that. I was just kind of keeping an eye on the race apps, and kind of calculated what I could do if it stayed green to, make it to the finish and still have an extra lap. If there was a green-white checker, I was definitely done for, but I didn't expect to get out pit road that far ahead of everyone, and I thought for sure I was screwed, but they actually didn't catch me as quickly as I thought. I knew they were going to get me eventually, and I was surprised once they did catch me that they didn't all go past me on the high side and they all got behind me. So, we had a chance there at the end. That's all you can ask for.
Well, that moment, like me and Nolan were having a discussion of if they're gonna, pass you or keep you in their group, and apparently the question wasn't asked until right as they caught you, whether they were gonna pass you, be in that group. So I think you kind of lucked out on that one. But anyway, you were up front all day long. It feels good. You have a decent lead now in the championship standings. What does this do for the final 2 races for you?
It definitely lets me breathe a little easier. I was, we get bonus points for most laps led, second most, so on. So since I was starting there on the pole, it was pretty much just going to be stay out front, try to get most laps led, and they just kept ticking off. Nobody could get me up top there. So, for sure we got most laps led, and that's, I think, 4 or 3 bonus points. So it definitely helps. And like I said, helps me breathe a little easier going into the last 2 races. I think as long as I have a couple solid finishes, we've got in the bag.
And finally, before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Well, I got to thank IRAPS for sponsoring this series. It's a very fun series. Everybody at RSR for putting it on as well. You guys at RaceSpot for putting on a great show. And all my boys at Keeping It Real Esports. Wish they would have been out here tonight. Maybe we'll get them out in the next one.
All right, well, thank you for joining us on this IROC race, and we'll see you next week for Cup Racing action.
Thank you.
So second place and current points leader, Nick Silver. And now I think we get to talk to the man who pushed our inevitable winner to the end, Dominic Howe. It says number 1, says also 86, but Dominic, you had a very up and down race day. You were trying to make moves to the front early. You were on that outside line. Talk us through about your race.
Yeah, I don't know. I started 9th, wasn't really where I wanted to be, so I tried to get to the front using that outside, and couldn't get anything to work, but by the pit stop time I was able to get myself into 3rd and had a pretty awesome stop, but took 3 or 4 too many gallons there, and just for that second run, the rear end was too heavy and I kept sliding around, but didn't mess up the pit stop, really happy about that, and then it was just Nick and Dylan in front of me, and well, Nick's the points leader, and I'm like 3rd, so I'm not going to help him, and then just was able to latch on to Dylan for the final part of that final run, and glad I could push him to the win. That's going to be a really popular one, and everything went green all the way, so really happy about that, and I didn't make any mistakes for this one, so that's pretty awesome because that doesn't happen a lot.
Hey, you ran a very, very good race, and you tried that outside line early, but it worked later on. And talk to us about how hard were you pushing Dylan? We saw a couple times that 79 get sideways right in front of you, and we talked about it on the broadcast. We're like, oh, you can't bump draft, and I think you're pushing an aggressive style, but I think proved us wrong.
Yeah, Dylan took my pushes the best of anyone all night, and that was pretty awesome. But sometimes it would run like the current Cup package, where I could just get on his back and stay full throttle. It would propel us forward, but sometimes I had to trail brake, and sometimes I had to lift off. And after like 10 laps into the run, I was just lifting in every corner, but we kept surging ahead down the straightaways, and I was able to push him ahead when it counted. So it's an interesting package compared to the old super late model, but getting used to it, I guess.
And did you think about trying to make a move at the end, or even with 2 laps to go, or did you feel like there just wasn't enough time or even speed in the car to get you around anywhere?
From about 5 laps to go, I just thought to myself, if there isn't a wreck, I can't win, because I had all that fuel in my car just pushing on the rear end, and I couldn't make moves by myself. And once it was in 3 or 2 to go, I knew that if I made a move, the outside line would collapse, and that would just give Nick the win. So I just stayed committed to Dylan, and it didn't wreck, and I got 3rd, and I'll take that.
All right, well, before we let you go, Dominic, anyone you want to thank?
Just you guys for doing the broadcast, IRAPS for sponsoring this series, SimSteets for sponsoring the Cup series, pretty awesome companies we have in RSR, and that's pretty awesome. And I don't know, no teams or nobody, thanks to Liam Sheen and Garrett Hess for being cool people to help me out in this league, and that's pretty much it.
All right, well, congratulations on the third place finish, and we'll see you out next week for Cup Racing.
Yep, thank you.
Well, what an absolute ride here tonight. My goodness, this was one heck of a race. Ran green flag right to the end. Had some great pit strategies taking place there right in the middle of this race. And at the end of the day, Dylan Coyle takes it home for his first ever Real Sim Racing race in his RSR career. So definitely a well-deserved one. Put his car exactly where he needed to tonight. Next week, of course, we headed over to Auto Club Speedway. So, Jonathan, as we get set to kind of close things off here, what do you reckon the thoughts are going to be when we move things on over to the 2-mile speedway? It's going to be the last 2-mile race before we head on over to one of the shorter tracks on the season.
It's definitely going to be really, really interesting to see how they kind of behave at Auto Club. Again, it's a lot flatter than Michigan and very, very wide. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of passing opportunities. Even that little paved area down in the grassway, it's going to be really interesting to see how they get it wrong in July of how aggressive people want to be. We saw tonight, like, people could not get a run and people couldn't get aggressive. Well, I think at Auto Club, that might be the reverse. I think people can get aggressive there. And then the finale in August at Chicagoland, it's going to be an interesting one for sure, just because it's a 1.5 miles. It's a smaller course compared to what we normally run, but you'll still have that draft type of effect going on.
We do have a bit of a break here for June. We've had races monthly from February, March, April, May. Going to skip June here, but we are going to come on back for Auto Club Speedway for another 50-lap event on July 26th before we kick it off the finale at Chicagoland Speedway for a 75-lap event over there. So the way the championship is starting to shape on up here, it's bound to be a very interesting one. Nick Silver, his gap is going to close in just ever so slightly. So it'll be interesting here to see exactly how this is going to play on out here. Well, we'll have to wait and see how this is all going to develop up, but I think for now, it is time to close yet another presentation of the Real Sim Racing IROC Series powered by IRAPS as we take one more final look at the finish. I've been Ola Rempel with Jonathan Burt beside me in the commentary box, and Hugo Louise doing a fantastic job, as always, behind the cameras. We thank everybody for joining us for tonight's presentation. See you next week for the Cup Series, and of course, we'll talk to you all in July for the IROC Series.